Welcome to our talk on the Gifts of God Course in Miracles program. I'm so happy to have you here. It's a beautiful day here in Washington, and we're in the middle of this 5-day liberation breathing class, and we've got people that are on breakout rooms doing rebirthing exchanges with people. But I was determined to not miss this. I thought, well, I can get them in the breakout rooms, and then I have the space, and I can, be here with you guys. So here I am. It's been really deep for us to work with the teacher's manual, and I don't think I've ever given such close attention to the teacher's manual. But I'm seeing that there's some questions that are answered there that are not answered in the workbook, and this makes us really happy. And I think one of the most powerful ones was this one we did this week where it said, "Can healing be repeated?" or something like that, or maybe it was last week, but that's still in our mind, like where it said that the healing has happened. Like if you ask the Holy Spirit for some shift or some healing, the Holy Spirit is always going to give you the answer or the healing. But where we fall short is we don't trust that the healing has happened, and we have continual concern. And then it said, beware of the temptation to use the physical symptom as a proof that the healing didn't happen. Like the healing has to happen at the mind level, right? It's always very clear about that. The Course in Miracles is always super clear that healing is at the mind level. Well, let's just say, okay, you ask the Holy Spirit to clear you of certain thoughts, certain parts of your mind that have manifested as an illness, and the Holy Spirit does get you clear. And maybe even in a rebirthing session, you get affirmations to change those thoughts, and you have the affirmations, but the symptom may still be there. The physical symptom may or may not disappear at the timing you think it ought to, right? So let's just say you still have the physical symptom, and then you use that as a reason to not trust that the healing has taken place. So I'd never seen it explained quite that much. So I became very clear. And then Sandra and I both became very clear on certain things we've been working on, that continued concern is like an attack on the healing. And did you all wonder about that when you read it? It just seemed so, wow, I had never really thought of it that way, but that's where we fall short. We fall short in this continued concern, because it said we equate concern with love. Like, oh, if you're loving, then you're concerned and you're giving it constant kind of attention. And it's saying, well, yes, but if the healing's taken place and you're still doubting the healing and you're constantly concerned, then you're blocking it and you have to let go. I thought that was pretty profound. So the miracle was a shift, and I think the shift happened that now we're more aware when we're doing that, and we stop it. So that was a good thing to read. So there was that one. And then today's was how can is it possible to have peace in the world? Something like that. It wasn't that. Yeah. How is peace possible in this world? Was the lesson today, and I thought that was really powerful. I used to think of this line that Tara Singh said a lot. He said that peace is always there, but we are absent. You know, it's like, well, what did he mean by that? It's like peace, the vibration, the frequency of peace, it's always present, but we distract ourselves in our problems, so to speak. We distract ourselves with our thoughts, with our doubts, with our grievances, with our fears, with our guilt. Basically, we deny the peace that's there with all this stuff that we have going on. And that's why it says, well, in the very introduction to the Course in Miracles, that, well, love, of course, and peace go together, right? And it says, well, love is there, but we have to remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. Well, you could also say, well, peace is there, but we have to remove the blocks to the awareness of peace's presence. And I thought that was very good, how he got us to see that it's our own doing that puts us in non-peace, right? It's our own conflicts inside that prevent us from being aware of the peace. So how do we approach that? You know, how do we stop the mental chatter, the conflicts, the inner conflicts? And I think that's where we have to be determined. You know, and, that's where we have to give the energy. The peace is here right now. Do we value it more than anything else? I think that's the question. Above all else, I want to see. Above all else, I want to see things differently. Well, what is it? What's the above all else? Well, I want to be in peace. I want to be free of conflict and problems and fears and all of that. And I think the Course gives us the miracles that we can do that. Attention is what Tara Singh always would say, puts us in the peace. I think he would more or less equate attention with meditation. He didn't talk so much about meditation. He didn't say, oh, you got to do this and this to meditate and teach us a technique. He was always saying just whatever you give your attention to is meditation, and the quality of that attention. So attention was his way of saying meditation. So let's just say, okay, peace is always there, but you are absent. And you sit down and then you notice, well, my mind is not at peace. Well, what's in your mind? He would say the first thing you do is just give attention to what is in your mind. You know, and that's not hard to do. You just sit down, you stop engaging in activity, and you just sit there and you just watch your thoughts. You just observe your mind. Which is what we're doing in breathwork too, by the way. It's like a breathing meditation. So you see, well, what's in my mind? Oh, then the concerns come up, then the fears come up, the grievances come up, and you see, oh, well, yeah, there's something I'm still grappling with, or there's a grievance I haven't let go of. And then you just observe. You don't judge it. You don't make yourself wrong. You just observe it. And in the observation, there's some letting go. There's some, oh, well, that's blocking me from peace, or that's blocking me from harmony in my relationship. And then you say, well, what do I want? Above all else, what do I want? Do I want the peace, or do I want the thing I'm not letting go of? Well, then, that's your decision. And that's when you can do the letting go, too. So meditation is just attention. attention you give to your thoughts, your mind, your inner I don't want to say chatter, but your inner voice. What's going on? What is your voice telling you? Everybody has that ability. And now whether they use it or not, that's up to them. But I think as students of the Course in Miracles, we're introspective people, you know. We're used to looking within. That's what we do. That's why we're interested in something like this. So I think as an introspective person, it's easier and easier to observe your mind, to observe your thoughts. And especially, you know, in the breath work, in the mantra breeze, that makes it so beautiful. You know, you can hear the wonderful mantras, but you can also watch your mind, and the mantras are like a cleansing, and the cleansing can just sort of take out, you know, any conflicts or any inner concerns that you have. So that's what I've been enjoying about the mantra breathing. It adds another dimension to the meditation. Is yes, you have the breathing, yes, you have the inner observation, but you also have these very powerful mantras that can kind of dissolve the conflicts. I think the Course in Miracles lessons are mantras as well. You know, I had kind of a inspiration that on one of the mantra breeze, I would just read the lessons of the Course in Miracles, you know, for an hour. I would just start from one and just read all the lessons. And that would be a mantra breathe. So I think at some point I'm going to do that one day on one of the mantra breathes. So I'll let you know which one that is. Yeah. Because one time I did recite to Sandra. We were in Spain, and we were in this really beautiful place in southern Spain in our friend's little town. Altea is the name of the town, and we were there, and we were by the sea, and I was inspired, and I just recited the first 50 lessons to Sandra in kind of it was kind of in a humorous way, but I'll never remember. I never forget that power of those first 50 lessons just recited. It was so powerful, and we never forgot that day. It was so uplifting. So I thought, and she's always telling me, why don't you talk more about the lessons? And, you know, my talks are organic. I don't know where they're going to go. I don't usually have a preconceived notion, but I think this reciting of the lessons is something I'm going to do in the mantra breathe one time and see where that goes. Because I feel that the lessons are mantras, you know. God is the strength in which I trust. I mean, what mantra in Sanskrit is any more powerful than that? You know, God is the strength in which I trust. Peace to my mind, let all my thoughts be still. I mean, those are powerful statements, you know, and they're divine statements. That's the point of the mantra. The mantra is a divine utterance in language that can transform us. So what are the lessons in the Course in Miracles? They're divine utterances, you know, that can transform us and put us in this more holy frequency. So I consider them mantras. I consider them very powerful mantras. Yeah, I choose the joy of God instead of pain. I mean, when you have these thoughts in your head, you know, that you can access, it's like what can touch you, you know. You can pull it up in any situation, and that's the purpose of the mantra, is to cleanse our mind, change our mind, put us in a different vibration, Like today it was saying, the peace of God is here. There's all your worldly preoccupations, right? And there's no peace in that. And the ego is going to want to make you think that there's no peace in the world. But then when you're focused on your connection, your divine connection, this thought of God comes in, and this thought of God is what gives you the peace. Lesson 200 is very interesting. It says, there is no peace except the peace of God's. What did you think when you read that lesson? There is no peace except the peace of God. And I think that's where we have to go. Like the man-made peace, we can call it peace, but it's racked with conflict. Even wars are justified. It's like peace through the war. It's like we're going to arrive at peace, but we have to have a war to get there, which is totally crazy. It's totally the ego's version of its peace. But in that version, the peace never arrives. You have the war, and yeah, somebody won or somebody, did whatever they did, but then you've got a whole slew of all kinds of conflicts after that. So it's really no peace at all. This is talking about a different peace where you more or less left the world behind. The world I see holds nothing that I want, right? Beyond this world, there is a world I want, and it's impossible to see two worlds. That's lesson 128 through 30. So what's that mean? The world I see holds nothing that I want. What is the world I see? You got to do the assessment, The world I see has fear. The world I see has whatever, guilt. World I see has things that upset me. Well, that's the world beyond which you don't want it. The world I see holds nothing that I want. So when you see that, you drop it. If that's true. Most of us are still attracted to certain goodies. We think, oh, well, I can sort of partially renounce the world because I want to keep these other little goodies that the world has, and I really like them. And there's nothing wrong with that. We still like going to the movies. We still like a lot of the things in the world. But there's a different vibration, I think when you made that decision, the world I see, meaning the conflict that is projected onto the world, that nothing in that holds anything that I want, and you remove your affiliation with that, then this world is something else. Beyond this world, there's a world I do want. Well, what is that world that you do want? And that's what the lesson today was talking about. When the thoughts of God enter the world, you're going to see it totally differently. And it'll become heaven instead of hell. It'll be a heaven on earth instead of a hell on earth. And that's totally up to us. That's totally within the capability of our mind of bringing forth. Because it says, well, the world is just neutral stuff, that we project our interpretations onto it. And then it just behaves in the way that we've projected. So what is the world really? The world is not the stuff. The world is what are we projecting onto that stuff. That's the world. And if it's true that world that we're projecting holds nothing that we want, then we stop it. And then in that empty space, so to speak, if we can get there really, truly empty, then that's like an invocation for divine truth to come in. And see, by divine truth, then the world is a peaceful world. The world is a beautiful world. But we're seeing it with different eyes. So it's all how we filter it, you know? What is the method we're using to look? And the Course is like constantly giving us this or that, ego or the Holy Spirit, ego or the Holy Spirit. And that's how we see. And there's only two options, that or the ego or the Holy Spirit. There's not really a third way to look at it. So, you know, how are we looking at it? And if there's something we don't like, or if there's something that's a conflict, or there's something that makes us angry, we can pretty much see that it's our ego in operation. And we have another chance to let that go. Sometimes people ask, well, how do I do it? How do I let go? And it's the how that keeps us from letting go. Needing to know a how keeps us from letting go. Maybe there's no how. There's just the letting go. And we decide that right now. And it takes us to an empty place. And we don't have to be afraid of that emptiness. We don't have a how. Don't even want a how. Just want to let go, right? The world I see holds nothing that I want. Is that true? Is that our truth? Can we let go of our thoughts? Nothing I see means anything. My thoughts do not mean anything. Above all else, I want to see without the filter of my thoughts. Then we're getting closer to this peace of God in the world. Peace of God. That Tara Singh said is always there. The peace of God is always there, but you are absent with your thoughts. Your thoughts distract you, take you away from the peace. So you're not aware of the peace that's always there because your mind's preoccupied with thoughts, mostly past thoughts. He even says that. I see only the past and my mind's preoccupied with past thoughts. Right? So more and more, this meditation, it's attention to what is in your mind, and then you see, oh, well, there's a past thought, there's this thought, there's a concern, there's a constant concern that I've been having that blocks the healing. So you see that, and then gradually you let it go. You see it, you let it go. You see it, you let it go. Which is what we do in the breathing. We breathe in, breathe out, and as we observe our thoughts, we breathe them out. We let go. So it's this observing and letting go, observing and letting go. And the more we do that, the more letting go we do. The emptiness, the space gets bigger, the peace gets more profound, you know. And then we see, well, the peace is there, and I can be in it. I can be in the peace, not the thoughts. And then the peace, that's like God's thought, And God's thought may not be a thought, in our definition of it. It might be silence. What if God's thought is silence? So then we've rested the brain. Tara Singh would say, you must rest the brain, because it's the brain that's full of the thoughts, right? So if you can bring the brain to silence, then you're resting the brain. And then in that rest is the peace. It's the peace. I read this thing this week too, and I mentioned it yesterday. I think Sandra may have mentioned it, about dedicating your sleep. To who do you dedicate your sleep? Do you dedicate it to the Holy Spirit, or do you just try to go to sleep and you don't even think about it, right? I want to read those 2 paragraphs. They were very profound. It was from chapter 8 in the text. See if I can find it here. Chapter 8. Healing as corrected perception. It's just 2 short paragraphs. Wholeness heals wholeness heals because it is of the mind. All forms of sickness unto death are physical expressions of the fear of awakening. They are attempts to reinforce sleeping out of fear of waking. They are attempts, this is a pathetic way of trying not to see by rendering the faculties for seeing ineffectual. Now here's an interesting line. Rest in peace is a blessing for the living, not the dead, because rest comes from waking, not from sleeping. Sleep is withdrawing, waking is joining. Dreams are illusions of joining because they reflect the ego's distorted notion about what joining is. Yet the Holy Spirit, too, has a use for sleep. Now, here's the interesting part, really interesting. The Holy Spirit, too, has a use for sleep and can use dreams on behalf of waking, if you will let him. How you wake is the sign of how you have used sleep. To whom did you give it? Under which teacher did you place it? Whenever you wake dispiritedly, it was not given to the Holy Spirit. Only when you awaken joyously have you utilized sleep according to his purpose. You can indeed be drugged by sleep if you have misused it on behalf of sickness. Sleep is no more a form of death than death is a form of unconsciousness. Complete unconsciousness is impossible. You can rest in peace only because you are awake. So I thought that, wow, that's fantastic. Like, if I'm not waking up in the morning happy, then that means I didn't dedicate my rest to the Holy Spirit, which is waking. It's like dedicate your rest to waking up, or dedicate the time you're going to sleep to waking up, right? And then it's like you're going to invoke this Holy Spirit in your sleep to give you a dream that's going to reinforce your waking, not your falling asleep, right? It sounds like a contradiction, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. What would our sleep be like, totally dedicated to the Holy Spirit, and that the Holy Spirit is kind of watching through our rest, and the rest is helping us to wake up. I just thought that was so, who but Jesus could say something like that that's so profound. And yeah, when we read that, we were like, our jaws dropped open, like, wow, I've never heard sleep described so well. And this is like the peace too. It's like the peace of God is coming in. Well, the peace of God is coming into my sleep, even. So it's like an invocation. We have to invoke the peace of God in. We have to invoke the awareness of love's presence. And in the invocation, we're letting go of all the other stuff, that's keeping us not awake. Not awake in our fears, not awake in our guilt, not awake in our anger. So in many ways we keep ourselves from being awake. But now this is saying the peace is there when you're awake. Like Tara Singh said, the peace is always there. And when you're present, it's there. But most of the time you're absent in some kind of mental distraction. I think I've been going through this week a bit of soul searching that I know we're doing meaningful work out there in the world, and it's getting out there, and we're doing it, and I have to just accept that it's perfect the way it is, and not compare us to other teachers that are out there. Maybe more famous, maybe more in the news. So I think I got this real clear message that the people who are in our life are we give all of our attention to that. And that as long as you're doing that, you're cool, basically. The mission is the mission, and the mission is working. And don't doubt that the mission's working, because we don't have more people in this and more people in that. So I think I went through that this week, and yeah. So I think I accepted the way it is, whatever that way is. So, I mean, for example, there's like 35 people signed up for this Gifts of God program, and 4 or 5 or 3 or 2 come to the weekly gathering, And I could use that to say it's not working, or I could use it to say that the perfect people who come are there, and it's working perfectly. So I don't have to judge it, And that was my process this week. I think I got through it. Because I really enjoy doing the podcast. Sandra and I really love doing the podcast, and I love doing these talks. And now that I'm getting these talks and Sandra's talks up on YouTube, and that's not a big deal. It used to be a big deal. It would take me hours and hours to crunch together something to put up on YouTube. But now I can do it a lot faster, and it takes me about an hour, and it's no big workload, and I enjoy doing it, and I like the result. I think these are good to have up on YouTube. So something new is unfolding. Well, that's about all I have to say. The peace of God is there always, and don't be absent from it, because you can access it. Having been through the course and given your attention to it, you can access that space. And we just have to give attention to it, and it's there. And it's like a cleansing too. You know, like I said, Tarsing never taught any particular methods of meditation. He usually would just say, spend some time in your day where you're quiet. That's all he would say. He would say, give yourself some quiet time every day and just sit quiet. And that's all you have to do. And that's meditation. And in that pure intention, whatever is supposed to happen when you're quiet is going to happen, and you're getting closer and closer to that peace of God. And it'll happen automatically. It's not a technique. It's not I've got to think about this or say this and then over time, your whole life will become a meditation. You know, Sandra was in, I think it was Sweden or something, and she met this scientist, photographer guy who was one of the first people that figured out the photography to photograph babies in the womb. You know, he innovated whatever those techniques were photographically to be able to do that. And she met him, and she asked him about meditation, and she said, you know, your work is so beautiful, and do you meditate? And he said, my whole life is a meditation. I never forgot that. My whole life is a meditation. And that's, what is that? Well, his whole life was joy and attention, absolute attention to whatever he was doing. And whatever he was doing was pure joy. And that became a meditation for him. And I think that that's our challenge. And I think we can do it. We have enough background that we know that everything in our life is a meditation. And everything in our life has the peace of God in it. But it's up to us to bring that energy to it. And I think when we do that, we're far advanced. Yeah. Well, thanks. Anything you want to say, Donna or Rasa? Tove?
Lovely talk. I just wanted to say, Sai Baba used to say that, you know, the world of God or the Holy Spirit is peace, as you're saying. Mm-hmm. And the world of the ego is pieces.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So we're trying to pare it down.
Yeah, we're trying to put the parts back together again that we broke up in the first place. Right.
That's right.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Rasa, it's so nice seeing you. You have such a lovely presence on the screen. I don't know. There's something about your hair color, everything. It's just you're just pleasant to look at. Not that you're not either, Donna, but it's just something about Rasa that she like jumps off the screen almost.
Well, I think it's just that I'm so happy and so joyous to be here.
Ah, yeah.
I think I'm just kind of, it's just there. I just love this so much.
Yeah.
And I think I breathe this into other people's lives. I don't even say anything, I say a little bit, but not very much. Mm-hmm. But, you know, people just like to, I don't know, they feel better when they're with me, and I don't even do anything.
Yeah.
I just love them so much.
Okay, well, it's your frequency. Your frequency is going out there, and the more we do this work, this inner work on ourselves, it raises our frequency. And, you know, if we can truly stay in this joyful state, then that's really divine service in itself, is just staying happy. You know, because people need that example of someone truly happy in their life. Because, I mean, it's so easy to fall into the doldrums, you know. And somebody that's given their attention to staying in that vibration of joy, it's a great gift for people to be around. And yeah, we give it, and it's effortless. Yeah. So, thank you.
I want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you, Tove. Tove's assisting us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Nice to see you too.
Yeah.
Rasa.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice to see you too.
I'm still in the process of doing the Course in Miracles. So.
Well, I think what the teacher's manual, it's giving me some new insights, but it's also like I'm so glad to know I'll always be doing the Course in Miracles. You know, it's like it's never going to not be there. It's you're never done. You know, we always say this in rebirthing, you know, until you're walking on water and raising the dead, you still have something to clear. And you know, it's like every time you approach the Course, it's like a drink of holy water, you know, and it always gives you something new, no matter how much you've studied it. And I mean, it's an ever never ending stream of inspiration. And what greater thing could we have than that? I mean, it's, yeah, so I'm really grateful.